14. Unfortunately, 4% of our conference can join all the Democrats and dictate who can be the Republican Speaker in this House. I don't think that rule is good for the institution, but apparently I'm the only one. I believe I can continue to fight, maybe in a different manner. I will not run for Speaker again. I'll have the conference pick somebody else. I hope you realize that every day I did the job, regardless whether you underestimated me or not, I wanted to do it with a smile.
A few moments later.
I've now heard from a number of people. I know for a fact Donald Trump has been contacted about possibly him being an interim speaker. Is that a reality?
I don't know. He'd be great, but I want Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States. If he wants to be speaker,
well,
great.
He would still.
But,
well,
I want him to be president of the United States.
He'd still run for president. He's still going to be running for president. Right.
That's where we need him. Is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. If he wants to be speaker, then that's fine too.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This situation going on Capitol Hill in the House of Representatives is getting more and more and more fascinating, okay? And again, I got to tell you guys, it's a full-blown war, right? It's a full-blown war going on at the Capitol after Kevin McCarthy was rightfully removed as Speaker of the House in a movement started by Matt Gaetz because Kevin McCarthy was a two-faced snake playing both sides of the aisle and not fulfilling his promises. And so it seems that his Democrat friends that he tried so bad to be cordial with, to be friendly with, they didn't come and save him, right? When he needed the Democrats the most, okay? And that is why he got ousted, because 8 Republicans, along with all the Democrats, voted to get rid of Kevin McCarthy. Now, the House is essentially frozen because there is no speaker, and without a speaker, they really can't do too much at all, okay? But one thing that was done was that Nancy Pelosi was evicted from her private office by the interim House Speaker, who is Patrick McHenry from North Carolina, okay? He's a Kevin McCarthy ally, and he was pissed that Kevin McCarthy got removed, and in retaliation for Kevin McCarthy getting removed, he basically kicked out the top Democrats out of their offices. Nancy Pelosi was away in San Francisco mourning over Dianne Feinstein's death, but he didn't give a damn, right? He ordered her to get her stuff out now, right? Immediately. Kind of crazy. But again, Democrats aren't the only people that may face the wrath of the Republicans that are mad about Kevin McCarthy being removed. You also have Matt Gaetz and Nancy Mace, again, 2 people who voted against McCarthy being speaker. They also may face some retaliation and backlash. Take a look.
Hi, good morning to you both. Well, you obviously saw Jim Jordan on that list. He said last night that he's been getting a bunch of phone calls as well, but it's up to the conference. The key question here, guys, the key thing to keep in mind is what happens if this conference nominates Kevin McCarthy again and keeps nominating him? That is a possibility, and I asked him about that last night. Listen.
What if the 200 don't give up on you? I see Jim Banks here. There's others that really, really support you.
You know, we
nominated again. If you keep getting nominated.
I love these 200. They've gone through so much. They're down in the conference. They want me to. They'll say they're going to keep voting for me. I think you should put the country first.
Okay, so not a clear yes or no answer there. Right now, Martha, the House is out of session. We don't expect a speaker vote until next week. That means the House is paralyzed. Lawmakers can't pass legislation, including a very important budget that's due in less than 45 days. Committees, they can hold hearings, but Martha, it's doubtful that they will. And Congress is practically paralyzed, and Matt Gaetz not worried.
We've got less than 45 days left before you have to pass a budget, which is something that you've been wanting to do. Doesn't this just completely paralyze the House?
What's paralyzed the House of Representatives has been the failure of Speaker McCarthy. What paralyzed the House of Representatives was not taking up appropriations bills.
Now, there's plenty of fallout, Martha. Some Republicans talking about expelling Gaetz if his ethics investigation finds him guilty. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, one of the 8 who voted to remove McCarthy, she may actually be removed from the Republican governance group. That's a centrist Republican caucus here. And former Nancy Pelosi is being kicked out of her Capitol hideaway office today, moments after Congressman McHenry became acting speaker. He made that decision. And also Punchbowl reporting that Steny Hoyer also getting kicked out, all over Democrats siding with Gaetz. Guys, it's simple. Bottom line, the House is in chaos without a leader.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? So word on the street is that Matt Gaetz could get expelled from Congress pending an ethics investigation in which they will use that as an excuse to extract revenge against him for orchestrating this coup against Kevin McCarthy, okay, and getting him ousted, okay? So, you know, I'm just bringing that up because I don't think this is over. This is not over by a long shot. I expect a whole lot of the knives to come out for Matt Gaetz for crashing the uniparty. But until then, Matt Gaetz is standing on his principles, okay? And he's actually saying that the interim House Speaker, Patrick McHenry, should reconvene Congress because for whatever reason, these people always want to take breaks, okay? They're on like a week break while Republicans can figure out who should be the new speaker. He said, no, we need to figure out who's the new speaker now and then get back to pushing the conservative agenda for America, the America First agenda, because they really don't have that much time, okay? They only have 45 days to avert another government shutdown and to fund more border security and to not keep funding Ukraine. Again, they don't have time to be taking breaks, okay? That's kind of how we got in this situation in the first place. Kevin McCarthy decided that, hey, you know what? We're going to not work for all of August, okay? We're going to take a whole month off, and then we're going to come back the next month and, you know, rush to try to pass a bill to avert a government shutdown in which he ultimately had to work with Democrats because they waited to the last minute to actually do this because they don't actually have a budget, right? So they wait to the last minute and then they use that as an excuse to not get anything done. Again, this is part of the reason why I think that it was justified to remove him, okay? At some point, again, we have to fix this broken process that we have in government where we just continue to go with the status quo instead of having fundamental change in regards to how things work, especially when you're talking about funding the government. And I agree with Matt Gaetz 100%, again, on the principle here that he's continuing to stand on despite getting the backlash in the threat of expulsion. Take a look.
Into former Speaker McCarthy's comments, he name-checked you and said, number one, you're not a real conservative because you don't want to govern conservatively. He also said that this really was personal, intimating that you're really PO'd, that he didn't step in and put down that ethics investigation into you. And he knows it's personal, and you know it's personal. And you say?
That's totally false. I'm the most investigated man in the entire United States Congress. I've been cleared by the FBI, DOJ, the Federal Election Commission.
But you don't think that McCarthy did enough to stop this? I mean, isn't that, wasn't that well known that you were mad that he didn't do enough to stop that investigation? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being mad, by the way.
I'm not. By the way, the beginning of Speaker McCarthy's comments there were lovely and nice about his past and his history. But when he says we're not conservative because we didn't vote to secure the border, I think that does merit a response. We passed a Department of Homeland Security border bill that would have required E-Verify with a host of other reforms. Then, on a continuing resolution, Kevin McCarthy wanted us to surrender every other fight. Jack Smith, weaponized government, everything else going on just to isolate the border thing. Now, I don't believe that the way conservatives get ahead is surrendering everything but the border in order to address the border. And I don't think that the way to address the border is to pass E-Verify and then say that the strong border position is the abandonment of E-Verify in a vote that occurs 14 hours later.
Well, you're not going to get the border done like the way we want to do it until you get the numbers. You're not going to get that border. You're not going to get what you want on the border. None of us are until you get the numbers in the House and you kick out some of these senators.
Well, I don't think we're going to get, frankly, Laura, I think it's worse than that. I think we're going to secure the border until we have the White House. But I also want to address this notion that we aren't conservatives, right? Because what Kevin McCarthy believes about governing is that we have to utilize these continuing resolutions. And if the continuing resolution is conservative enough, if you hang some bells and whistles on it, that really ought to pacify people who are right-leaning throughout the country. I believe that the only way to achieve programmatic reform and to put downward pressure on spending is to do what was done back in the 90s, where every individual bill is conferenced and debated and subject to amendment. And of course, you have to compromise. And of course, you have to govern. Matter of fact, just last week, I voted for 4 appropriations bills after my amendments were largely defeated by House moderates to put further pressure on spending.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Matt Gaetz is doubling and tripling down on his position, okay? He feels no remorse for what he did to Speaker McCarthy. However, we have to find a new speaker, okay? That has to be the #1 priority now for Republicans, and to get it together quickly, okay? Or else, again, this is going to start to look very, very, very chaotic. I mean, it already looks chaotic, but the worst thing that could happen is for Republicans to essentially drag ass on getting the government back going, right? Which they can't do unless they select a speaker. Now, there's been a lot of names floated out there for a speaker, like, for example, Jim Jordan, Steve Scalise. You have Elise Stefanik. A bunch of names have been floated out there about who should be speaker. Again, these are names that we've all heard before. Even when Kevin McCarthy was first getting elected as speaker, these were some people that, you know, other people thought, okay, these people may be better choices. However, the difference between last time and this time is that last time you had Trump's name being floated as a potential speaker, and it's kind of floated as like a joke, right? Oh, it'd be funny if Trump became speaker. However, this time around, there's actually a serious effort, or a more serious effort, to make Trump speaker, because he can be speaker. You don't have to be an elected representative to actually be speaker. And again, this time around, Trump actually seems to be interested in the position, unlike last time in which he wasn't interested. This time, he is interested. Take a look.
Who should be speaker?
Who should be speaker?
Who should be speaker, Mr. President?
A lot of people have been calling me about speaker. All I can say is we'll do whatever's best for the country and for the Republican Party.
Would you take a job?
Great people.
Marjorie Taylor.
We have some great people.
Would you take a job?
A lot of people have asked me about it. I'm focused. You know, we're leading. I don't know you. I'm sure you don't read too much in the papers. So we're leading by like 50 points for president. You know, my focus is totally on that. If I can help them during the process, I would do it. But we have some great people in the Republican Party that could do a great job as Speaker.
Well, what about
Marjorie
you?
Taylor Greene called for you to be Speaker yesterday. Did you accept?
I think she's a wonderful woman, Marjorie. A lot of other people are calling for that too. I'll do whatever it is to help, but my focus, my total focus is being president and, quite honestly, making America great again, because we are living in a country in decline. This is a country that's failing badly. We're not respected in the world. Interest rates are through the roof. Taxes are through the roof. Inflation is horrible. What it's done to us, it's eating us alive. Energy is now over $5. I was at $1.87. It's over $5. What's happened to our country with Afghanistan, that horrible removal, the most embarrassing moment, I think, in our country's history. So I'm running for president. I'm up by 40 and 50 points and more in some cases. But whatever I can do to help with regard to Speaker is good. By the way, I'm also leading Biden by a lot. If I wasn't, I wouldn't have trials like this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? Trump, unlike last time he was floated to be Speaker of the House, is actually entertaining the idea. Now, here's the thing. I love the idea of Trump being Speaker of the House for a lot of reasons, right? One of the main reasons is that, again, the Democrats' heads would explode, right? Could you guys imagine Trump becoming Speaker of the House despite all these indictments, despite these investigations against him, these witch hunts against him by the Democrats, him becoming Speaker and laying down the hammer literally against the Democrats, right? Him essentially using the power of Speaker to impeach Joe Biden, to go after the Biden crime family, to go after some of these Democrats, to go after the deep state. Again, it will be absolutely glorious, okay? I would love to see Trump be Speaker and to have the Democrats be forced to try to work with him, right, in order to get anything done. Again, can you imagine Trump and Biden meeting, okay, to discuss policy, right, and legislation? Again, it would just be it would be chaotic. I mean, it really would be, okay? It would be one of those things where these people's heads would explode. They would shut down the government, right? The Democrats would shut down the government if Trump actually became speaker, okay? It would be absolutely glorious, okay? And the speaker's position is a powerful position. It really is. They control the ins and outs of Congress, okay? They basically are the CEO of Congress. They run Congress. They control what legislation comes to the floor, what legislation doesn't come to the floor. And again, you know, it's one of those things where it would just be pretty fascinating to see him in that position, despite not being a member of Congress, but actually in that position, or an elected representative, that is, and him also going through these indictments. Again, nothing would make Democrats' heads explode more than seeing Trump become speaker. Now, what I don't like about the idea of Trump becoming speaker is that, one, I think he needs to focus on campaigning. I think he needs to focus on becoming the next president of the United States. And I would much rather see him be president than Speaker of the House, because truth be told, in order to be Speaker of the House, you actually do need to know the ins and outs of how Congress functions. Now, again, no disrespect to Trump, but I don't think he knows enough to be Speaker of the House to actually really run Congress, okay? Because, again, that job is like a CEO job of Congress. Again, Trump's been a CEO all his life, but I think that, you know, we really don't have time for somebody to learn on the job, okay, in the situation that we're in right now. And that job is a complicated job. It is a job that requires a lot of organizational skills. Again, I think that he's better suited to be president, right? I think that he's better suited to do a job that he's already learned, that he has a proven successful track record in, and he should focus on that, right? I would much rather see Trump be president than Speaker of the House. I think being a Speaker of the House will be a distraction from the ultimate goal, which is him taking back the White House. So that's why I don't necessarily love the idea. But, you know, the Republicans do have a week to decide. And it could be one of those things where, since Trump is entertaining the idea, it could be a serious movement. Now, do I think he ultimately will be speaker? Probably not. But again, who knows, right? Stranger things have happened. If he does become speaker, again, that would be hilarious. Okay, I mean, it would just the collective meltdown from the mainstream liberal media and Democrats would be of legendary proportions, right? It really would. So with that being said, I think regardless, Republicans, they don't have time to take breaks, right? You need to actually decide who's going to be the next speaker. Go ahead and have that vote. Go ahead and get it done so that they can get back to governing. And I think fast forward into the future, I think what really needs to happen in Congress, I think these people need less breaks in general, right? They need less vacations. They take a lot of vacations. They don't seem to work as much as they should be working. And then they want to turn around and, cry about, being up against a deadline and having to do things at the last minute when, again, what were they doing all of August, right? What were you doing all August? You was vacationing and talking to donors. That's what they do. A lot of these politicians, they spend a lot of their time talking to donors more so than legislating, right? They do more time trying to raise money and prostituting themselves rather than doing what their actual job is. And I think that needs to stop. I think one thing that needs to change about Congress more than anything is these people need to take less vacations, okay? And they need to work more, because that way there's no excuse not to have a real budget. There's no excuse to be doing things at the last minute. There's no excuse for any of the stuff that we commonly see in Congress, okay? Business as usual has to change on Capitol Hill. I don't think that we're going to see that change with the next speaker, to be quite honest with you guys. I don't think we're going to see much change at all. But regardless, Kevin McCarthy getting humiliated and embarrassed is a warning shot to the Republican Party to get their stuff together, that we're not just going to settle for business as usual. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.